Hello everyone, welcome to the manga review channel. If you enjoy the video, please give me a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to follow the channel to watch the latest episodes as soon as possible. I hope you have a great time watching. Continuing from the previous episode, when the old drunk left, it was also the moment that Chick Fam realized everyone had been surrounded. After hearing Tui Not Hoa's story about how an Innova and a mysterious person arrived in this town, the result was that he grabbed the elder by the neck and dragged him away, forcing everyone from the Huin Thien sect to hide here in fear. Chick Fam and his companions immediately recognized it as the work of a brat who enjoyed playing cat and mouse. Then, Chick Fam even joked about the style of the demonic cultivators, which made the people from the Huin Thien sect immediately wet themselves. Right now, the roof of So Kuyan Tong, which is beautifully magnificent, is asking why the group of people from Huin Thien Tong are staring at him like a bunch of idiots. Chick Fam gave a strange laugh after looking at people from Huin Thien Tong and said, "Just like you didn't listen, so I punished you, and that is my little amusement, hee. So Kuyan Tong smiled, shook his head, then slowly said, "Stop talking nonsense. Don't you understand people's temperament? Having been the Lack family's housekeeper for so many years, I've never laid a hand on anyone like that before." Yang Sha glanced at Suo Xuancheng briefly, then looked toward Zhuo Fan and let out a mocking smile, saying, "Hey, Zhuo Fan, this family really does understand people. Seems that at the Zongmen, one would never be harsh with their subordinates. Hard to blame someone for treating her like that. Ha ha ha. Turns out it's a beauty's downfall." His expression grew a bit dark. He glared fiercely at Dung Sa, then seriously said, "What they call pulling the firewood from under the pot. The opponent is already eagerly playing the cat and mouse game like this. If we stay here, we'll only be led around by the nose by him. Right now, the best plan is to ignore everything and leave immediately." As Hasty Flower said, "But what about the young master and the elders? We can't abandon them. Before we find them, we can't leave." Young disdainfully said, "If you continue to stay here, you'll only be toyed with. But once we leave, that person will definitely not rest until they appear and chase after us, thus luring the snake from its hole, turning the tables. The initiative will then be in our hands. You don't understand this principle at all. You heavenly sect disciples are truly incompetent." Incompetent. Tui Not Hoa's face red. Ho Tan hung his head and thought, they're not wrong. When it comes to dealing with demonic cultivation masters, these old devils are far more experienced. It's hard to get their help. It's best to just listen to them. As a result, Tui Not Hoa Voi Vang said, "Then I will follow your instructions." Track Fam, seeing this, nodded in satisfaction and said, "That's good. Alright, we shall." But just as Track Fam opened his mouth, immediately the distinct sound of corrosion could be clearly heard. Immediately they saw misty, ominous fog pouring in through the window, which seemed like claws of a demon, carrying a sinister, eerie sound. They couldn't help but shrink back. Everyone was horrified and quickly stepped back, their eyes full of seriousness, their hearts full of unease. Tui Not Hoa said, "What? How could this be? There are boundary formations set up outside the room. How could the fog suddenly penetrate here?" Zhuo Fan said indifferently, "Before, when your disciples were captured, was it also in the evening?" Tui Not Hoa happily nodded and said, "That's right." Unconsciously sighing softly, Track Fam shook his head and said, "Seems that person preemptively attacked. Before we could even act, he intended to annihilate us." Everyone exclaimed in horror. What? Zhuo Fan pondered for a moment, carefully considering in his heart. However, why did they strike tonight? Did he not have time? Or, Song Qingyan asked, "That's right. Has a similar situation occurred recently? Were any of your disciples abducted?" Tui Not Hoa shook her head and said, "Since we set up the barrier here, it hasn't happened again." Track Fam then fell into deep thought. The opponent's tactics are very sophisticated. This kind of barrier is basically useless. Now it's clear. There must have been another reason why he didn't act earlier. His eyes narrowed slightly. Zhuo Fan suddenly thought of something and exclaimed, "That's right. It's that decrepit old man. After you all tied that old man up, weren't the disciples no longer abducted?" Shui Ruohua quickly nodded in response. "That's correct. It seems so. Could it be that everything is the old man's doing, and not the young man's?" Helplessly shaking his head in disgust, Zhuo Fan sighed and replied, "What nonsense are you talking about? With the old man's strength, he wouldn't need to resort to such tricks to deal with you all. Perhaps the opponent was hesitant because of that old man, which is why they didn't dare to act. Now that the old man is gone, he has nothing left to fear. If I had known this, I should have kept that old man here." Shui Rihua and the people of Xiantian's sect couldn't help but feel shocked, thinking they truly didn't dare to imagine it. The old man we captured and brought back was actually the very protector who had kept us safe these past few days. Now that he has left, the opponent opponent has immediately entered. What? If I had known it would turn out like this, I should have treated that old man with more respect earlier. Maybe now he would lend a hand. But now it's just too foolish. Track Fam scanned the room. He could clearly tell what everyone was thinking. Then the young man looked toward the mist and said, everything is in the past now. Regret is useless at this point. The urgent matter right now is to avoid the fog that's approaching, and we'll deal with the rest later. Let's go upstairs. After saying this, Track Fam quickly moved next to So Kuyan-tan, naturally took her hand and pulled her upstairs. Wow, doesn't this look like a scene from a romance comic? But this scene is really beautiful. So Kuyan-tan was a little startled, glancing at the male lead for a moment before allowing Track Fam to hold her hand. She smiled faintly and thought, although he had been avoiding her all along, he still remained loyal, with only her in his heart, and that was enough. Everyone then began to make their way upstairs. But suddenly, a heartbreaking scream echoed through the hall. It's enough. The danger is coming. What should we do now? Looking back, it's those people from the aristocratic family. Because their bodies are stiff and rigid. Although they want to run, it's really difficult. They see the mist approaching, like a wild beast opening its mouth full of fangs, ready to devour them. Long's fans went wild too. Qiu Kuang and Noyet Ni also shouted, Master, perhaps you could remove poison from us first, and we can deal with the rest later. Jung Sat's group also hurriedly looked at Track Fam and nodded repeatedly, saying, in this immediate crisis, we should temporarily stop that hellish training. Protecting their lives is still more important. But life is never as easy as a dream. Track Fam coldly laughed and said, ha 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 ha, antidote, huh? What's with this vinegar antidote? I've always kept my word. I said I would only give the antidote when it's too late, so I will never give it early. Just imagine you've been swallowed whole by the special forces fog. Then you just have to accept it. If you've got guts, then come up here. Damn it, what the hell are you still dawdling around for? They couldn't help but be startled. All of them looked like they were about to cry. Given their situation, walking like a normal person is already difficult. How could they possibly run away from the mist rapidly approaching? The group of people now seemed trapped in a hopeless situation. Death itself wasn't so terrifying, but facing the slow, relentless approach of death was what truly scared them. It was terrifying. As they saw the mist, which had an almost solid presence like a giant snake, relentlessly moving towards them, the group of noble youths had no other choice to push themselves to the limit and try to run up the stairs. It really is true that misery loves company. In the face of imminent death, humans possess truly extraordinary strength. Because the toxic mist was chasing them from behind, they began to run for their lives. Though their speed couldn't match that of the cultivators, they were still faster than ordinary people. Track Fam nodded and then smiled, saying in a mocking tone, not bad. Seems that if you don't put pressure on them, they have no motivation at all. Watch the special fog chasing after the Qiulang group. Yang Sha shouted in a loud voice, Zhuo Yifan, now is not the time for you to train them. In that special fog, who knows what's there? If they catch up, it will be troublesome. I don't want our Mahjai sect to be left with only one person attending the Song Dong meeting. Zhuo Fan's face remained unchanged, but he said seriously, it's also because I don't know what's inside this misty seal that I had them try it once, to see if there's anything strange inside. Jung thought deeply, is he a human or a demon? Track Fam, how could he dare to use his own brothers as guinea pigs for an experiment? If something goes wrong, wouldn't they die inside? But he looked towards the south and said, the person is crazy. Have them go investigate. If there's anything dangerous, what will the Song Dong Association do? Track Fam replied, calm down. Just now, didn't we already understand that kid's mindset? He's just waiting to chase them away. He won't hurt anyone. I guarantee it. Wait a little longer, they'll be taken away. But you don't need to worry about their lives. It's just how he'll manage to take them away. I, on the other hand, want to see. After all, even if their strength is superior. Without saying a word, he took everyone in the village away. It was also very difficult. Killing them all would have been easier. Only by understanding this point can we come up with a way to break through the fog and escape from here. Escape from this place. Hearing these words, everyone looked towards Track Fam. His gaze was filled with disbelief. He truly couldn't believe that someone could be so calm and composed, like an unmoving stone. In such a tense atmosphere, he could still calmly think of a way to break the enemy's formation. This is indeed rare, and Sach Tong has truly given birth to an unpredictable character. It's hard to say if this time, at Twin Dragon's meeting, he leads the team, and even the three attendants must obey his commands. Jung Sat had regained his composure, and he hurriedly nodded, saying, what you said is not wrong. They indeed don't have any problems for now. This reconnaissance strategy is also very sound. We were just too flustered earlier. Before he could even finish his sentence, Qiu Kuang was already in a panic, shouting loudly, help, 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 save me. Because of his slowness, the young man was overtaken by the thick fog, and in the blink of an eye, he was swallowed, quickly losing all signs of life. Seeing her son devoured, Qiulang didn't continue running upstairs, but turned and ran towards the immense fog, calling out Kuang Ni's name. But in an instant, all sound ceased. Zhuo Fan witnessed this scene, his eyes wide wide with shock and amazement. Immediately after, the thick fog pressed in, step by step, quickly catching up to the stiff wooden figures, swallowing them one by one, leaving no survivors. Everyone's faces were filled with terror, but once swallowed by the fog, they fell silent. This only heightened everyone's fear, as they saw the thick fog rapidly rising towards the upper floors. Everyone was drenched in sweat, yet only Track Fam remained surprisingly calm. The quiet young man calmly and surprisingly said,